Hey everybody, this is Alan. You bought the Aurogon system from Laowa and you want to learn how to use it at 35 and 50 times magnification. That's what this video is going to tell you. Stick around. This is going to be a super dense video about the Laowa Aurogon. This is for more advanced users, and it's going to be everything you need to know to get successful pictures at high magnification using the system. I'm going to walk you through a bunch of different topics related to using the system well. That's going to include subject selection, subject preparation, pre-visualizing the shot, setting up the whole apparatus, the camera settings, the lighting, and even if we have time, processing the individual images. This is going to be an intense half hour if we're lucky. Probably twice that, but we'll do the best we can. Better get cracking. I remembered that I had a large hornet in a bottle. It had been there for about a year, and I thought I'd check and see if he had any nice hamuli. Well, of course he does, being a big vespid. Right on the leading edge, the thick part of the wing, just above that vein in the middle of the picture now, you can see the row of a very nice, well-developed adult hamuli. All right, so we've got the other wing on this side. The forewing's huge, the hind wing is tiny, and it's okay. But the hamuli aren't any better than the ones on the other side, so let's use the one where I've already separated the wings. One thing I could do, though I'm reluctant to, would be to snip this wing off, because you can't see it in the photograph of the wasp. In fact, I've already photographed this guy so many times, I think I am just going to snip it off so I can get the perfect angle. So let's try and decide which way is the best angle to look at these hamuli. So we're looking on the leading edge, that's the top edge of the small wing. Lovely. Let me clean them while I'm looking at them from here. Sorry to interrupt the proceedings, but you seldom get a look in that clear of a direction, and yeah, I really would like to get some of that dirt off from between the. I'm going to brush across the curly cues towards me so that I'm not risking getting one of the bristles caught in a hamuli and ripping it or breaking it. See, that stuff is pretty well stuck on there. I wonder if a quick run under the tap or a dip in some decon might lift that grummus off. You know what? This is such a perfect wing, I'm going to give it a try. Wow. That decon made a... I've never used it on as a wing rinse before, but that makes a difference. Here it is, there. So I just bent that with a pair of tweezers. I'm going to dip that in some sticky, knock most of it off, and then I'm going to come in from the side and below, but staying well away from the edge where the hamuli are. Here it is, stuck right along the bottom edge of the wing. So, about perfect. And because of this bend, we can angle it towards or away from the camera to give us the best view. Now, part of my pre-visualization is looking at this thing under the microscope before we go back there, so I am going to do that very quickly. This would be the straight up and down. That's an interesting look. That shows the hamuli coming over the top of the wing and headed straight down into our faces. That might be a novel and unique angle to shoot them from. Let's go get some blue tack and get this guy loaded up. So I have spent most of the day today shooting with this the camera, the Z8, and that's what I want to use on the Aurogon. Because it doesn't have a mirror, it tends not to cause as many problems with vibration as the DSLR would. We're going to go back and we'll finish this pre-visualization exercise. Missing this step is one of the most unnecessary ways to handicap yourself. It is such a straightforward thing to do. I think we have a tendency, especially if we have very fancy positioning systems, to put the subject on the positioning system and then try to find our structure. That the goal needs to be to position the subject on the positioning system so that we can see the target, and then we can use the positioning system to tweak the presentation, the composition of the photograph. But it's at this minute scale. The first job is to get the target in the frame. So that's what we're going to do. Let's take the camera to the back, and then we should have everything we need back there. By any standard, the Aurogon at 50 times magnification is a very large lens. It's also very heavy with a rail, 3 quick release clamps and a big camera. It's a heavy system. To mount that entire thing on 1 quick release clamp on the Castel Micro seemed risky, but it handles the weight very well. And as long as you balance it around the center of gravity, which is all the way back here, you'll probably do just fine. But you do need these ring supports or some type of ring supports. This is the setup complete. And I would recommend, if you're going to be using this, there's nothing wrong with the Laowa ring support system, except for the fact that I don't think it provides quite enough support. The idea of having multiple points of support is to limit the amount of the amount of material that's sticking out into space. That's what sets up the vibrations. And if we can have more supports out towards the end of the objective and an extra one on the main barrel, it does make a difference. I don't have any scientific data for you, just empirically, in my own experience, it has made a difference to have more support. Now, the system that Graham Carey set up, and we're actually shooting this set of photographs on the Carey platform, which is another of his inventions. He has come up with a better way to do the supports than I did. And he showed it at a recent Zoom meeting, but unfortunately, I did not have time to implement his solution for my setup. He uses 5 supports on his system, and he has it set up in such a way that he can remove this portion, the tube portion of the system, while leaving the objective in position at the working distance at the front end of the microscope. This is a fantastic achievement because it stops you from having to disassemble the whole thing just to change the magnification. Unfortunately, I don't have that, but then fortunately, we're not going to be changing lenses. We're just using the 50 today. So when you set this up, putting these on is a piece of cake. You just relax the knob at the top so that it'll stretch open a little bit, and then you slide this on over the aluminum housing. This is sticky. This is neoprene, and you have to give it a good push to get it on. Once it's on, you just tighten the thumb screw, and I use 3 little skinny quick release clamps. These clamps all have a cross-shaped defect in the middle of the bottom of the clamp that fits perfectly into this cross that I've printed on the bottom of the stand. so that they cannot turn. Once they're in position, they are locked onto these quick release clamps. The quick release clamps in turn are held straight by this double Arca Swiss rail. The whole thing resists twisting and torsion better than anything else I've tried, and it holds the whole system straight, which is crucial. So once you've got your 3 or 4 or 5 supports in place and everything is on a straight rail, now is the time to go ahead and set your numeric aperture. At 50x, you want to use 0.5. I would not recommend messing around with a smaller aperture. It will be a waste of your time because it didn't ever work for me. Now, I also recommend putting the camera on the lens before you put the lens on the rail. That is because you need to be able to judge the center of gravity but pretty accurately so that you can position this directly over the carriage of your rail. Now, I'm using the incredible Novaflex Castell Micro. It is a fantastic rail, and it is perfect for this job, and it will take the weight of this without any trouble at all. This is a nice low center of gravity system because we don't have it up on bellows and other things that exaggerate the height. This can sit very low, and as such, it limits the amount of vibration you're going to see. So we're going to use the Z, but this is actually an F mount. So we're going to need an FTZ adapter. Now, there's one question that has plagued photographers since the time of Confucius, and that is whether or not to put the FTZ adapter on the lens first or on the camera first. I don't know what the right answer is, but I'll tell you what I do. I always put it on the camera first. The camera is the thing I'm going to protect with my life if need be. So I want to make sure that I've got it securely locked onto the camera before I go fiddling around trying to get it onto the lens. Not that I want to throw the lens around either, but you know what I'm saying. So the dot on the lens, the mount on the lens is oriented at 12 o'clock, which is a little bit unusual. So I line it up with my camera and click it into position. It's that simple. Make sure it's straight. It is perfectly straight. I like to check it upside down and make sure that my rail is absolutely following the lens the way it's supposed to. Look at it from the side to make sure there's no bending or torque or twisting on it. Make sure all the clamps are tight, and get a feel for where the center of gravity is. Depending on your camera, it could be anywhere. But before you judge where the center of gravity is, add anything you're adding to the camera, like a battery and a trigger for the flash. This is everything I'll need. So now I can judge the weight better. I ordered and bought, it's right about here. I ordered and bought a dummy battery pack for this camera. And by the time I first used it, it was like 30 days after it arrived. And of course, it doesn't work on the Z8. As far as I know, none of them do. So even though they advertise them as being for the Z8 or the Z7, a lot of these dummy battery packs are, we're the dummies for buying them. And then I can't send it back, so I'm stuck with it. Apparently, though, Nikon now makes one, which I shudder to think what a dummy battery costs from Nikon, but I'm going to have to buy one because this kind of shooting, you could easily take 1,000, 1,200 shots for one photograph with this setup. Okay, so let's get it positioned, and then we're going to do the all-important lining the subject up and getting it as close to perfect as we can. So I'm going to give you a pretty unusual perspective on setting this up so that you can see more or less what I see. I'm going to move the flashes out of the way while we do this. These are a bit scrappy, I'm afraid. I need to do some work. Let's get the NovaFlex turned on so it can be warming up. And I'll get the rest of the flashes out of your way. And then we'll bring them back in when we're ready to go. I only have 3 MF12s working right now. And I'm going to get some more. But until then, we're going to make do with 3. And for those of you who use continuous light, I wish you'd get over that for the 50X. It's so difficult to use with continuous. First thing you probably notice is the mount is facing the wrong way. You can see that the rail is facing downfield, so what I need to do is rotate this. I'll grab my Allen key. It's not the one that came with it, I'm afraid. It's one of my own. I'm just going to loosen the center nut and turn it about 3 turns to the left, and I can pick up and rotate the mount and the turret to where I want it, then tighten it back. Okay, make sure it's nice and straight. Go to great lengths to make sure that your rail is mounted straight on your platform, because there's nothing you can do after it's mounted to straighten it. If it's not straight when you mount it, it's never straight, and your carriage is never going to be straight. So now we're ready to add the lens and the camera. We want the center of gravity right here. So this is heavy. I don't have a scale, or do I? I do have a scale. It's a Quizade. We have to zero it out though. If you're thinking the specimen's already up there, it's because it is. What should we use? Grams? Yeah, that's what it's giving us. So right over the center of gravity, right at 3,000 grams, so 3 kilos, 6 pounds, 6.5 pounds. That's a lot of equipment to be placing on one rail with one support. But let me tell you, it is going to handle it like a champion. What I'll do is I'll put it on, make sure it's gone inside the Arca clamps on either side, and I will, when I'm happy that I've found the center of gravity, I will let it sit there and make absolutely sure it's not trying to tip, and it is not trying to tip up or down. Solid. Now, there are other things that you can do with a long system like this to help support it. We're not going to do any of those today because I've already tested this system, and it actually, with this rail, it really works quite well, because this rail has, the movement is so subtle and gentle as it goes down the line. I've turned my flash on. I'll turn the flashes on too so I don't forget. And I'm going to zero out the NovaFlex rail. The way I do that is just by bringing the rail all the way back, by holding a button down. It'll kiss off the back and then zero itself out. Here's a tip. If you're using this system, don't set up your rig so that you have to move the rail halfway down the length of the rail to get your subject. Move it a little bit though, so that you've got room to back up, but not much. So what I'll do is I will move the rail just half an inch, if that, down range. That just gets it away from the back of the rail, just about that much. Now I can do all my maneuvering, and if I have to stop doing this and then come back, I don't have to recalibrate nearly as much. It'll be a quick job. So what I'm going to do, before I get you back here with the camera, to look at the screen on the camera, I am going to do the pre-visualization portion. Well, we did that at the microscope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to position the subject and try to get it already right smack in the middle of the screen. Remember, we're at 50x, so this is not like lining it up with a macro lens. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, all I'm using to demonstrate this is a lab lifter, an old beat up ordinary lab lifter. We know that the lens has a working distance of 20 millimeters. So the first thing I'm going to do is judge the height, which is going to be the dead center of the lens from the side. So I'll move the subject quite close and I'll get it dead center to the lens. I won't look at it from the front yet. I just want to make sure I've got it right on the meridian here. Now the hamuli are about halfway down the wing, so I'll move it up just a tiny bit more, fraction of a millimeter. The next thing we need to do is position it side to side as close to the center as possible. Now I used to do this by coming from above. For some reason I don't like that. It's not as accurate. It doesn't give me as good results. What I like to do is come to where you are and yeah, well, I guess you actually are looking right at what I want to see. Well, I'll just put my head down in front of yours, if you don't mind, just for a second. What I'm going to do is look straight into the lens, as straight as I can get my head, and then I am going to position the wing in exactly the orientation I pre-visualized it, which was rotated ever so slightly. Just like that. Now, I don't know, because you just saw me do it. I don't know if that's going to be close or not, but we're going to go back to the camera now and take a look. So it's not in the field right now. So what I'm going to do is move it ever so slightly left and right. Okay, see the light changing? It's right below where it needs to be. So I'm going to raise it up ever so slightly. And what we need to find is an edge. So I am moving it left and right, and then moving it a tiny bit closer and further away, kind of judging whether I'm too close or too far. Remember, I have the wing edge on, so I mean, it has no thickness to work with. Okay, clearly that's too far back. You don't want to run into the lens. We're actually well short of the working distance. Okay, there it is. So that is the edge of the wing. So now what we need to do is go up and down till we can make pretty sure that we're on the correct edge. Remember, there are two edges to a wing. This actually looks like the near edge. We want the far edge where the hamuli are. So you'll notice that there's not anything very recognizable at this magnification. That's why you have to be going after a particular structure, and that's what you line up with the camera. And it's these, I cannot overemphasize how tiny these movements are I'm making. All right, that looks like the edge that will have the hamuli on it, the thicker edge. And they look like hamuli, those white things. It looks like we're right smack on them, looking down at them. That's actually interesting. I've never been. And see how we only get a few of them in there. These are the hairs that give way to the hamuli. So let's try rotating the subject a little bit, moving it back a little bit, and see if we can get the edge from slightly to the side. Now you can see the way this shape is curving over. That is classic for a hamulus. They have this bent hook type structure. That's what catches the other wing in flight. I've said this before. You keep the light away from the front of the lens. You cannot have light out in front of the end of the lens, because if any light gets back in there off axis, it will hurt your picture. It's good not to be in a rush, because it gets harder the more you rush. And if you ever get lost, acquire the subject again and start over. The worst thing that you can do at this point is to just go barreling into the lens itself. When in doubt, stop and go look at it and see if you're too close. Once you're inside 20, it's never going to be in focus if you move closer. So stay at the working distance if you can. Okay, so here we are back at the edge of the wing. Let's keep going down. If we get to the top of the wing, we've gone too far. We're at the top of the wing, we've gone too far. So we'll go the other way. We'll go up, so we're going sliding down the wing. I see some hairs on the edge, but they're not hamuli. Those look a little bit more promising. I just nudged them right out of focus. So I am inching the whole wagon forward and backwards. I don't recommend you do this. Somebody was asking me about this the other day. I only do it because I've always done it this way, and I have the muscle memory for it. But it was long and hard learning how to do it. I wouldn't recommend it. There are much easier ways. Get one of those positioners that group of macro photographers invented. I forget their names. Oh, look at this. This looks promising. What have we just stumbled upon here? Whenever you see unexpected color, it's usually super glue. I'm moving a little bit, then I'm going in and out to try to find the edge. That is the edge that I would normally expect to see them on. There's the last hairs, and there's the hamuli, okay? Right there. And if you're thinking, that's too much work for me, you're right, it is too much work. Look at the strange stripy pattern on these. I'm going to rotate the platform, trying to keep them in the center all the time so that we can get a more interesting perspective view of them. I'm not changing the height at all. I'm just moving laterally and forward and backward just a little bit. They're the last hairs. The hairs change in quality before the hamuli start. So I'm going to try dropping a little bit. And there's the hamuli right there. You can see the bend in their shape, or maybe you can't, but it's there. All right. I'll tell you what I think we need to do is rotate this back the other way, because I think we're kind of looking through the wing. All right. Now, I've turned the wing around, so the hamuli should be on the right side now. And that is the edge that they should be on, and that is them. We're looking at them dead on. These brown things are the hamuli, the hooks that are coming up. I'm tempted to rotate that, but let's see what a photograph looks like. I'm going to bring the flashes in, and let's just see what it looks like. So I'm going to bring the flashes in very much from in front and from the side, as opposed to from the side pointing back towards the front. It's very important that we not shine light into the end of the lens. All I did was position the three lights at about, I guess, 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 4 o'clock, near as can be. Now I'm going to bring a second layer of diffusion in. You can see how specular that is, the way it is. So I'm going to slide my tunnel directly over the subject, underneath the flashes, and down close to the subject. That took a lot of that out of there. See how it softened it and shows these spines. I've never seen these spines before. They're very interesting. So let's take a picture and see what it looks like. I'm going to have to fix the ISO though. Let's go back to 100. And shutter speed 200, 1/200th. Sync speed for the flashes. Flashes are on at 1/8, all of them. And I've set the numeric aperture at 0.5. We should be good to go. Yes. Wow, that's weird looking. See these hamuli at the bottom? That is very strange. I've never seen this. I was going to add a colorful backdrop. Oh, look at the hamuli there. Did you see that? The black. I'm going to move it just to the left. Oh, gosh. There. Oh, they look fantastic. Let's see what that looks like. Wow. They look gnarly. Okay, I like that just the way it is. So I'm going to, before anything else happens to mess it up, I'm going to set it up. Now, I'm going to put a delay of 5 seconds into the Castell. The reason for that is these flashes are going to get hot if we fire them too fast. So that'll be my delay. No mirror up, shutter speed 2, and go to settings. We're near the start, but we're not quite there. So I'll hit start and then put it in slow mode and back it up. Oh, we're already beyond it. I'm going to actually go back up to it and then back off again a little less. Okay, that's good. So we'll hit start there, and then I'll hit end, and I'll go forward until I'm through the structures I'm interested in. I want to get those things at on the other side too, those hooks. There. Wow. It's like it's got secondary hamuli. That's incredible. I like that. I'm going to get more of that. There we go. All right, so we've gone all the way through the subject. We can hit end. Then we're going to set it on 0.0. I'm going to put it on 2 micron. No, we're at 50. I'm going to put it on 1 micron, not 4 microns, 0.001. I need to calibrate this screen and then hit OK. 242 frames, that's not too bad. That'll be good. Now, we need to turn out our lights. That's 1. This is 2. This is 3. And we're going to pretend I'm not in the room, and we're going to hit start on the stacking menu. That's it. That's the whole range. Okay. Then we'll hit stop. We'll turn the light back on, and I will plug the camera in. That was a trick to see if you'd pick up on it, and nobody did. Nobody said, hey, hang on a sec there, Alan. You haven't plugged the remote in. What is this, amateur hour? Well, yes, kind of. There we go. Now it looks like I have recomposed the shot rather badly. Let's see what it looks like, though, when I start it. See, the vibration is from me breathing on it. Well, that's not as pretty as it was. Do you hear the rail moving? You can't hear the rail moving. It is dead silent. Well, 240 pictures to go. I'm not going to make you sit through that, but we'll look at the picture together in a minute. So we're done, and I'm almost out of batteries. But it looks like we've got some good pictures here. We'll check them. I'm going to shoot a few more because this is very unusual. This particular view, you can see it's a nice shot of the edge of the wing. I'm going to try to get a couple of different angles. But briefly, to finish up, what is it that makes this so difficult or so different? What is it about this particular lens or this particular magnification that is so challenging? Well, the main things are the bulk of the lens is huge. It takes getting used to, getting it positioned correctly to give you the right center of balance, so that you don't end up having problems as a result of an unbalanced camera. But most of it comes down to positioning, placement of the subject, and having the subject clean enough and presentable enough to shoot at 50 times magnification. Dirt that has been totally insignificant so far in your macro adventures suddenly becomes very, very ruinous to a picture, and cleaning becomes of paramount importance. So that is important, as is the pre-visualization step. And you could see today, even though I had a very clear picture of what I wanted to shoot, I still couldn't find it. It is very, very challenging. There will be a micro positioner one day soon that will allow you to accurately and quickly place the subject right where you want it. But until that time, we have to use whatever methods we're comfortable with and used to. I'm sure for you it's a multi-axis platform, a manual one. But for some of you it might just be a ball of Play-Doh like it is with me. That seems to work fine. Okay, so that is how the advanced user would go about using this system at 50 times magnification. Keep this lens clean. If you own one of these, every time you put it back in the box, clean the lens, the objective very gently with a Q-tip and some dilute lens cleaning solution, and just wipe it down, put it up with the caps on, and treat this thing as if it was a Mitutoyo objective, and it'll last you the rest of your life. Experiment with the light. You'll never get done experimenting, and you'll never get it completely right. But the more you do it, the more close to perfect you'll become. There are a lot of steps to remember, and attention to detail is everything with this lens. You cannot cut any corners, especially when it comes to accurately pre-visualizing and positioning your subject for the shot. You'll get frustrated if you don't do that right. And if you're hunting around for something to photograph and it takes 20 minutes, it almost guarantees you're going to forget something in the setup. This is one of the shooting modes that I would probably recommend using a checklist for, at least until you've done it a few dozen times. You need to be sure that you're getting your light diffused well, the light's positioned properly, and most important of all with the light is keeping the lights away from the end of the lens. Don't let them swing around too far. You may get away with shooting completely lateral light with some of the lenses we use. You won't get away with that with the Aurogon. It'll ruin them. You're going to see some of these test shots are almost startlingly high quality images, given the fact that this is not a typical infinity corrected microscope setup. It really does behave like one, and it really does look fairly apochromatic. There is some color fringing, but it's not bad. The lenses are pretty straightforward to use. They don't give many surprises, and if you can stick to these few clear directions, then I think you'll enjoy this lens at even at 50 times magnification. The most important thing that I've talked about of everything is subject selection. I cannot overemphasize how important that is. There are some things that you would not even want to attempt to shoot with that lens. For example, looking for a structure somewhere on the surface of a detail-filled insect body, it would be a nightmare. The images would be very hard to handle too. I like to shoot mostly edge shots with the 50 and the 35 for that matter, and I like to go for fairly high contrast things. Some of these Hamuli photographs of the hooks on wasp wings are pretty impressive for any optic. So if you have bought this lens system and you're trying to decide whether or not to give it a go at 35 and 50, now you know how to do it. And let me know if you have any questions or problems. If you have not yet bought this lens system, then you need to get one. For the price of about one Mitutoyo objective, you can get 4 fantastic lenses that will keep you entertained for the rest of your photography career. I will put a link in the program description down below that will tell you exactly where the best place to get the lenses are. I've talked to several folks in the last couple of days, including Laowa, and I'm finding out where you can get the best deal, and that will be in the program notes. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe, be well.